welcome to today's session, which is on setting goals for success. So today's session is going to look at how we explore the purpose and value of goal setting, how we evaluate the effectiveness of different types of goals, and how we set the goals for the most impact for our apprentices. As part of our goal setting process, what we need to consider is the targets that we set for our individual apprentices. And what is really important is that we set high expectations that are going to really push our apprentices to that next level. So it's identifying what those key priority areas are for the apprentice and how we're going to improve their level of knowledge. So in terms of the targets that we set, they need to be fully negotiated with that apprentice. So it gives them the ownership of the targets and it helps them to then improve their motivation and their confidence in terms of the progress that they're making over their journey on the programme. When each apprentice comes to the programme, they'll all have different starting points. And to establish those starting points, we do our initial and diagnostic assessments to look at their level of English and maths. We've got their GCSE point average in terms of what they've achieved from school, and we'll also have all the information on that individual player in terms of their technical and tactical abilities. So we've got a good understanding of that apprentice's starting point. What we need to be doing over the course of the 18 to 24 months that the apprentice is on the programme is look at closing those knowledge, skills and behaviour gaps. And we'll do that in a series of different ways. So there's always lots of ongoing formative assessment that takes place, whether that's on the pitch, whether that's in the classroom, whether it's part of a SEP session, whatever that looks like, there'll be lots of assessment going on. And ultimately what we're trying to do is make sure that when they get to that summative point, when they're about to take that endpoint assessment, that they've got enough knowledge, enough skills, and they've got the right behaviours to meet the apprenticeship standards and those occupational competencies. Ultimately, the apprentice is looking at their future goals, so whether that's like the long-term goal of a long career as a professional footballer, or whether it's a career away from football, and what that progression means, whether that's to university, whether that's to employment, whether it's to further study. It could be a scholarship in America. There could be lots of different options for that apprentice. So what we need to consider is how we are closing the gap over that 18 to 24 months for that apprentice to be able to successfully complete their endpoint assessment, but also give them the skills, the knowledge, behaviours that helps them with that progression, whether it is into a professional contract or whether it's down an educational or an employment route. So how do we close the gap? So there's going to be lots of overall goals, but we would say that the most common overall goal that an apprentice will set is to be a professional footballer. Ultimately, that's what they've come on the programme for, and that's what they're wanting to achieve. What we've got to be able to do is understand and identify what those priority areas for development are, and that's linking in with their individual learning plan. It's making sure that the individual knows what those key strengths and weaknesses are in terms of their performance. But when we're talking about the goals that are being set, especially the ones that we're going to record on EMS, is that they are the key priority ones. So those two football ones, that personal development one. But in terms of those two football ones, it's really how are they going to improve? How are they making progress? And ultimately why they're doing what they're doing to improve. So in terms of those two goals, those two key priority goals, which are linking from their ILP, it's how are they going to improve and why. So again, the buy-in, the way that apprentice is going to improve over a period of time. So again, what's the impact measure? How is that apprentice going to understand and be able to demonstrate the progress that they have made in those key priority areas? Well, we've got the 12-week review that's done with the RO, and we can look at signing that off if that goal has been achieved within that 12-week window, or we might look at extending that goal if it's more of a long-term goal that we've set for that individual. Within that, we need to be using the comment box a lot more in terms of a progress check. So if that goal is being signed off, then it's signed off and we're on to the next one. But if it's not and it's being extended, then we need to put in a comment to say what that progress check is. Where are they against that particular goal? What have they achieved so far, and what do they still need to achieve to ultimately be able to sign off that goal? And where is it towards their overall outcome? So if it's a technical goal, if it's a tactical goal, how is that and where are they in terms of being able to achieve that against their overall outcome, whether that be the overall goal of being a professional footballer, or whether it's improving their passing, whether it's improving their goal efficiency, whether it's improving their assist efficiency. So what does that look like in terms of the progress made? So in establishing that with the apprentice, we've got to look how we are making, or how that apprentice is moving forward over time. So how are they showing progress over time? And in terms of the apprentice, they've got to know where they are in their learning. So again, we said it's very much it's setting those high expectations for the learner. Making sure that apprentice is fully on board with the goals that have been set, and they're understanding where they are with their learners. They're understanding where they're going with that particular goal, and how that's going to help them get to where they need to be in terms of that overall impact. When we look at the research, and James Clear, who's wrote Atomic Habits, talks about marginal gains, and we know David Brailsford talks about marginal gains as well, in terms of what he's done and the research that he did. But in terms of looking at that 1% improvement every day, over a period of time, over a year, you're looking at almost 38% improvement for that individual, compared to if they stand still, or in fact are going backwards, they're going to make no progress whatsoever over time. So in terms of the improvements that individual needs to make, even if it's just 1% every day, they are progressing, they are making they are developing those knowledge, skills and behaviours over time that's going to help them get towards that overall outcome. So each of our apprentices come with a different profile. So they'll all have different starting points, they'll all have different strengths and different weaknesses. So when we're looking at the EMS system, and we look at all the different aspects that go into the set program, and we're making judgments, and we're identifying areas for development on those individual apprentices, there are going to be key areas where they need to improve. So for instance, it might be their physical performance. So they may need to do more gym work, or working on their upper body strength, or from a goalkeeping perspective, they may need more spring and therefore more power in their legs. So again, there's going to be different aspects that need to be worked on. So what we're looking at in terms of the review process, and linking in with the goals that have been set on EMS, is almost that triangulation from the scores that are set through SEP into the individual comments that go into the contributory reviews, and then into the actual goals that have been set in terms of those key priority 2 football goals. So if we're looking at physical performance, for instance, which is a 3 out of 6, and then we're saying within the contributory reviews, these are the areas that are impacting on performance, and then we're looking at the goal in terms of this is how we're going to improve those particular areas, and this is a particular time frame in which we're looking to master that goal. So when we're talking about developing that apprentice, and we are talking about the KSBs, and we're talking very much about that cognitive domain, that affective domain, that psychomotor element, we are very much looking at how we're developing the knowledge of that individual apprentice. Are they representing the right behaviours in terms of their own personal development, in terms of the correct behaviours on the pitch, and how they represent themselves and the club, and also in terms of their skills and their attributes within the technical and tactical aspects of their programme. So it's very much a holistic development of that apprentice, and thinking about those key priorities and how we develop that individual apprentice to ensure that they get most out of the programme and develop as much as they possibly can from the football aspect, the personal development aspects, and also their educational side of things, to give them as much opportunities as we possibly can when it comes to the end of that 18-24 month programme, that they can then go on either be successful as a professional footballer or move into maybe another industry or further education. So when we're talking about the knowledge, skills and behaviours, there's some areas that we can consider when we're looking at the knowledge aspect of things and setting goals for our apprentice around those particular areas. Very much thinking about, how does that apprentice contribute to the programme? Are they there all of the time? Are they attending all of their lessons? Are they attending all of their training sessions? Are they punctual? So again, key employability skills, but also very, very key areas in terms of them building that knowledge base that they need to move forward on their programme. And are they able to demonstrate that effectively? So in terms of their learning, their professional behaviours, whether that's through the BTEC, whether it's through the SEP sessions, are they fully engaged in those sessions? Are they making the most out of those sessions as they possibly can? When we're looking at the BTEC aspects and thinking about maybe higher education or further study, in terms of their where they get information from, are they able to reference it effectively? So are they building those referencing skills? Can they use those sources of information effectively? Do they check their work? Do they take pride in their work and care in their work? Are they developing those elements as they move forward in the programme? And that could be with the set portfolio as well, in terms of the work that they do. Is it really professional? Are they looking at their English that they're using in the work that they're producing? Is their SPAG good? Where they're using maths, for instance, maybe the data analysis tasks and their ability to read that information, in terms of the work that they're producing, their ICT skills, whether it's a presentation, whether it's the portfolio. Are they building those skills? Are they developing those skills? And again, when things are going wrong, are they developing the resilience and the independence to go and tackle those problems? When we think about them looking after themselves and being a positive influence on society, are they responsible and respectable citizens when they're away from the football club? Do they demonstrate those correct behaviours? Do they have the knowledge to understand and the awareness to understand the responsibility that they have? Again, thinking about the British values and the mutual respect and the tolerance of others. Again, thinking about things away from football and how they develop as an individual. Do they know how to keep themselves safe away from radicalisation and extremist views, and understand the importance of those, especially around social media? And the impact that can have. And again, when we're thinking about being mentally healthy, to allow them to focus on the task that they're doing? Do they understand the processes around that, and being able to keep themselves as mentally healthy as possible? Do they know the people to talk to, the organisations that are there to help them? And again, can they communicate confidently and effectively with peers, with parents, with coaches, with other individuals, depending on the types of relationships that they have? Are they confident in being able to hold those conversations, and have worthwhile conversations with individuals? I mean, all of these aspects could be points to consider when you're setting your goals with that individual around closing the gap on that knowledge aspect. Certainly the football side of things is really important in terms of the goals that we're going to set. So there's going to be two key priority goals that were set that link into the ILP. So again, they could be really specific ones where you may be looking at their contact skills, or their controlling and passing of the ball, the distribution, whether they're able to dribble in the right areas, how they maintain pressure, how they maintain possession under pressure, how they're dealing with tactical approaches in certain elements and certain times of the game, in terms of their defensive and attacking aspects. Do they understand those key technical and tactical elements that go into those aspects? Again, in terms of their collaboration with teammates, and it could be pressing aspects of the game, it could be their own individual responsibilities in terms of who they have to mark at set plays. Again, it might be their aspect within attacking formations, or attacking set plays, and the role and responsibility that they play in those aspects. Thinking about their psychological elements and their emotional skills. Are they able to cope in those sorts of situations? How do they interact with their peers on the pitch? Are they a leader on the pitch, or do they need to develop those skills? Can they plan and implement things effectively? Do they manage conflict well on the pitch? Do they present themselves in the most positive aspects on the pitch? So these are all elements that we consider. We're linking in with the ILP, and we're pulling out what those two key priority areas are for that individual. In their ILP, they might have 4 or 5 aspects which are key to their development. So those AFDs, there might be 4 or 5. What we're asking you to do in terms of thinking about the review process and on EMS is to pick out the 2 key ones, the 2 that are going to make the biggest impact on that individual apprentice and push them forward the most, and then pull those out from the ILP and record those on EMS. The other key priority goal that we're going to be looking at is from the personal development, so in terms of their behaviours and the things that help them alongside their football. So things such as their time management or their organisation. Can they be in the right places at the right times, in terms of their training programme, in terms of team meetings? So ensuring that they're building those behaviours, those correct elements that not only help them in terms of their job, but also going forward, maybe into other careers, into other aspects. Do they have a strong work ethic? So thinking about what we said previously about setting those high expectations, those optimally challenging and stretching and challenging that individual, so that they can demonstrate a real good work ethic, good aspirations, good ambitions, good aptitude to what they're doing, and really pushing them forward. Are they able to be critical and self-reflective of their own performance, in terms of things that they need to push on and work on? And again, linking in with the goals. Can they have that ownership of those goals? Do they engage in that goal setting process, which is ultimately going to help them develop those those weaknesses, if you like, within their performance, or within the areas that are holding them back. Having ownership of those goals is a key and fundamental part of them developing as an individual. Are they respectful? Are they fair and approachable in their manner? Do they have those behaviours and again linking into the British values, that are respectful, that respecting the individual liberty of individuals, that equality, that diversity, making sure that they are representing themselves as well as the football club as in the right manner. In terms of how they interact with other members of the team, the coaching team, even parents, or their own personal relationships. Can they work well in those kinds of situations on the pitch, especially when they're under pressure? Do they represent the right behaviours? Are they representing themselves effectively? Are they professional in their appearance and also in their integrity in all aspects? Do they show respect to referees? Do they show respect to their peers? Do they show respect to the opposition? Are they developing the right integrity in terms of what they do? And again, when we're thinking about the ILP and we're thinking about that individual, what is the one key area that's going to have the biggest impact for that individual apprentice moving forward? And that's the goal that we want them to be setting, whether it's a wider issue in terms of their communication skills, which might impact on some of the elements that we talked about in their behaviours. It could be a long-term goal in terms of how we develop that individual over a period of time. So we've mentioned goals and the three types of goals that we're going to be setting on EMS. What we need to consider are the types of goals that we're actually setting. Are we setting performance goals, or are we setting mastery goals? So when we talk about performance goals, we're talking about proving. So we're proving something to somebody else, an external element. Or are we talking about the mastery goals, the improving for that individual, where they can see the progress that they're making and have confidence and build motivation towards those particular goals? What we see at the moment is a lot of performance goals, not so much mastery goals. If we're going to be improving that individual, if we're going to be taking that apprentice to the next level, we need to be focusing more around those mastery goals, certainly around the football element, those two key priorities for development in terms of that individual, the mastery of it, the how and the why are really important in terms of that apprentice seeing progress and moving to the next level. So traditionally, when we talk about performance goals, we link in very much the SMART process in terms of it being specific and not general, so measurable in terms of what the success looks like, how it's achieved in terms of it being optimally challenging for the apprentice, is it realistic and relevant, so why it's important and valuable to the apprentice, and time bound as well in terms of the measure of progress over time. So again, thinking about the review processes, so whether that's the review with the RO, whether it's the internal reviews around the ILP. So again, thinking about the SMART aspects. Lots of goals that we see on EMS are set using in the SMART principle. So although the SMART principle and performance goals are relevant and indeed important in terms of the apprentice achieving certain aspects, what we want to move more towards is the mastery goals, so that we can really see how the apprentice is making progress over a period of time, over those 18 to 24 months, rather than these performance goals which are short or medium term and it's very hard to look at the progress. So score 15 goals by the end of the season, well, you're only going to see the impact of that at the end of the season. Whereas these mastery goals are more about the progress over time in terms of checkpoints or milestones as they're moving through, to actually see the progress that they're making. And it is more of a long-term element in terms of, do we ever actually master a goal? The goals can have different elements to it. It might link into an overall performance goal, and there's lots of different aspects that are going to help them achieve that performance goal. So in terms of looking at the mastery goals, 3 elements really to a mastery goal. So the what, so they're specific to the area that the apprentice needs to improve. The how, which is the critical part of it, it's what is the process of the system that is going to lead to the improvement and the progress being made. So again, working with the apprentice to understand how they're going to improve over a period of time, and the why in terms of the improvement that the apprentice will make in terms of their skills, and how it's going to positively improve them and impact on them over time, so they can really see the progress that they're making. So it might be looking at their past percentages and how that's improving over a period of time, and the dialogue that they're having with the coaches, etc., to really master those particular goals and really move them forward. So again, thinking back to the ILP, it could be those 2 key areas that we are identifying from the ILP and setting those goals in the mastery element. So what the goal is, how they're going to improve it, and the impact that it's going to have on that particular apprentice as they move forward. So some of the elements that we've seen within particular goals that have been set that really impact on the success really of the apprentice is that they're too general. So a goal that's maybe set for a number of apprentices that is very general in how it's written, and it's not really specific to that individual, and therefore not personalised to what they need to improve. Those are AFDs for that individual apprentice and how they're going to improve it. It lacks challenge, so it's something that they can achieve really easily and signed off without any real challenge for them. Focused more around the performance aspect rather than the mastery element of it. So again, more of that proving rather than the improving elements. That they're more staff or RO led than being apprentice led. So again, just thinking about that particular apprentice and the buy-in that they should have, the ownership that they should have in terms of their own goals and how they're going to achieve those. And in terms of the apprentice being able to measure the progress that they're making over time. So that goal sat there, but the impact of it isn't going to be fully known until maybe 12 months or 10 months into the program. Whereas more with the mastery goals, we've got those checkpoints as we're moving through, and we're able to see that the progress that's being made over time. So just to give you a flavour of what key priority goals might look like in terms of how they could be written from a mastery perspective. So with the what, how and the why. So we can see that there's 2 football goals and 1 personal development goal. And if we're looking at the what, so they're going to work on a variety of 1v1 attacking skills. That how are they going to do it? By focusing on the skills in afternoon sessions. They're going to be working with the coach. They're going to do it a couple of times a week. They're going to record it and then look at the footage of it. They're also going to look at match footage and try and identify where the patterns are that they need to improve on. It's a very much a good process of how they're going to make those improvements, and the why in terms of the overall impact. So it's going to help them be more competitive when they're in match day situations against other players of similar pace. So again, you can see how that's been written. We've identified what it is, we've identified how we're going to go about improving it, and what the impact is going to be in terms of the why. So again, we've got another one that maybe is looking at how they're going to develop their hold up and link play. So again, a key priority area for improvement. They're going to do that by practicing how they use their body, how they prepare to receive the ball. They're going to think about how they're going to use their body against the opponent and protecting it from the ball. And again, using the video footage, both from training and from games, to look at where they've done it successfully. And again, looking at the impacts of it. So how doing those things is going to impact their overall performance. So it means that they're going to become more effective in linking and supporting with other players within the team, which ultimately is going to have a positive impact on the team as well. So in terms of those two football goals, very much around mastery, very much around how they're going to improve and how they're going to demonstrate improvement over time. In terms of that third goal, we're looking at the personal development aspect. And again, this is thinking about behaviours and how we may, or how that individual is going to demonstrate their own personal development over time. So again, thinking about, and it could be a second year where they're thinking about the progression or the next steps. They may be aware that they're going to get a contract or not get a contract, but again, thinking about how they're going to prepare for those next stages. Again, working effectively with the MDT team. In this particular case, we're looking at the player care manager, and we're looking at transition strategies. And there's a time limit around when they're going to look at them by. And again, it's feeding back to help them think about those next steps and what that might look like. So again, there's elements there that are key priorities. And again, it could be from cohort, the first year cohort or the second year cohort, in terms of where that personal development goal goes, and likewise in terms of the football goals, and making sure that they are appropriate for the level that particular apprentice is at. So just for clarity in terms of what we're looking for, certainly from the review process and the goals that are set. So on EMS, the goals expectation will be that there will be 3 key priority goals. 2 are going to come from football, 1 is come from personal development. And what we're looking for is that triangulation. So when we're talking about those SEP scores, and where there may be areas that need improving, we're then looking at what the contributory reviews say about that individual apprentice, whether that's in the ILP and has been fed through into the contributory review that's on EMS, and how that then is turned into a mastery goal for that individual apprentice to then help them move forward. Likewise, in terms of the personal development goal, and this is very much looking at the player care contributory review comments around their personal development, and looking at what is the biggest area, the key area that's going to make the biggest impact for that individual apprentice. And again, making sure it is individual in terms of that player care contributory comment, and it's not just a general that would go across all of the apprentices. So what is the key priority area for that individual apprentice that is going to help them develop as much as possible from that holistic aspect? So in summary, just 5 tips for setting effective goals for our apprentices. So we very much want to focus on quality over quantity. And that's very much why we're prioritising those 2 football related goals, which link into their ILP, and that 1 personal development goal coming from the contributory review from the player care comments at each review period. very much around closing the gap on those knowledge, skills and behaviours. So we talked about at the beginning that 18 to 24 month period where the apprentice is with us, and we're looking to give them as much opportunities as possible to develop, both from a technical and tactical perspective, from a personal development perspective, from an educational perspective. That whole holistic approach of developing that individual apprentice to give them the best opportunities when it comes to the end of their programme, whether they become a professional footballer, whether they go into further education or higher education, or whether they go into employment, that individual has developed from their starting point, where they were when they first came on programme, to where they are when they leave. So again, setting those high expectations for that individual, making sure that the goals that are set are optimally challenging and that they are going to support them in progress over time. And we do that by regular recording and reviewing these goals, whether that's through your ILPs, whether that's through the RO review process. But the biggest thing is to look at the impact. Is that individual apprentice making progress over time? Because if they're not, then what's the point? We're not setting effective goals in that aspect. We need to be looking at those key priority areas, those 2 football aspects, that 1 personal development aspect, and showing and demonstrating for that individual apprentice the progress that they've made over their 18 to 24 months on the programme. And therefore you'll have buy-in from the apprentice. They'll own and understand what they're doing. They'll be key part of that progress because the goals will have been negotiated with them, they'll have been prioritised with them, there'll be goals that they've agreed to, and therefore they're going to have, or most likely have, the biggest impact for that individual apprentice. So in summary, goals are really effective in terms of the apprentice and the progress that they're going to make over time on the programme. And we want to make sure that we give the apprentice as much opportunity as possible to demonstrate and build as many knowledge, skills and behaviours as possible for them to come endpoint assessment time, or come the getting a professional contract or their exit strategy, that they've got enough knowledge, skills and behaviours to go on to the next level. So I hope you enjoyed the information, that you've taken something from it, and that it's going to help you moving forward. Thank you for your time.